Hello and welcome to it, Mindsetters. Happy Heritage Day and also National Bride Day. Hope you're all up and cheered, ready to learn more with us. I just want to say this because I'm proudly South African. Molweni sanibonani dumelang afsheni khuye more mina igama lami ngusibongiseni udlameni uzizu cheche ngwane udumagana zandla. Otherwise, I am AP. I'm not alone. I'm joined by Tracy. How are you, Tracy?
Fine, and you? You know, he's just showing off. I'm just saying. How many languages was that?
6.
6. Yeah.
How many languages can you speak?
2.
Only
English
2?
and Afrikaans.
Really?
Ja, ek is so tien.
Well, it's fine. You can greet the Mindsetters in Afrikaans.
Hallo, ek's maar hier, né? Ja, en nou is dit net embarrassing.
All right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what are we doing today before I embarrass you even more?
It's okay, I do that all by myself. Today we're doing electricity and magnetism. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to look at past paper questions from the November paper 1, which was great, November 2010. We're going to add in one from February, March 2013. It's also a good paper if you can get hold of it. And so we're really just focusing on electricity and magnetism.
All right, well, ngaphandle kokuchitha ixesha Mindsetters, it is that time where you can learn more with us, interact with us on our social platforms. One, you can like our page on Facebook, which is facebook.com/learnextra. Join the 53,000 Mindsetters that are on the page. Talk with us, ask some questions also because we're there to help you. Otherwise, you can follow us on Twitter @learnextra. And lastly, you can download your notes all for free on learnextra.co.za/spring school, or one word. Now, we have an exciting competition that I need to tell you about. All you need to do is to tag yourself or share the post that I've posted already on Facebook. We have a picture there with 10 numbers from 0 to 9. It's a square with different numbers. All you need to do, you tag yourself on your lucky number. Like Tracy, what's your favorite number between 0 and 9?
7.
It's 7.
7.
I'll go with 2.
Okay.
Yeah, so my lucky number is 2. So I'll either take myself on 2 or share the post and write 2.
Okay.
So that's how it is. And you could win yourself an awesome mystery Learn Extra hamper. So all you need to do is do that, and because we are starting the clock right now on number 2. So we're starting on my favorite number. So the last digit that we have now is 2. We'll stop the clock right before the end of the show. But without talking more, let's get straight to it.
Excellent. 53,000 likes. I remember when we were gunning for 10. Wow. That's brilliant. And
We're
guys,
going for 100 now.
I like that. We can do that. Maybe before the end of the year?
Yes.
Yep, cool. Okay. So guys, well done for watching. I know if it's particularly in Joburg, it's a really nice day outside, but you know, finals are around the corner, so we need to really get in there. And if some of you are confused because you were watching earlier, it's the magic of television. I've changed hair color, I've changed nails, changed hairstyle. The show before this was a pre-record, okay? So we recorded that beforehand. So some of you have had me for 2.5 hours. Aren't you lucky? Anyway, so let's just jump straight in there, okay? And we are going to get into, okay. There we go. So we're starting with electrostatics, which we know isn't always the famous part. Remember, this is from grade 11. You probably didn't do it again this year, so you need to make sure you've done your grade 11 work, okay? And what they do is they say to us, we have 2 metal spheres, P and T, on insulated stands. Guys, the insulated stands just tells me that the charge can stay on the sphere, okay? That's the only reason why it's there. They carry charges of plus 3 times 10 to the minus 9 coulombs and minus 6 times 10 to the minus 9 coulombs respectively. We like the fact that they've given us in coulombs already. We don't need to worry about converting. That's brilliant. The spheres are allowed to touch and then placed 1.5 meters apart. Now remember, when the spheres touch, what's going to happen is the charge is going to distribute itself across both spheres, and then they're both going to end up with the same charge. So they're going to go from a position where they are attracted to each other, because we have a plus and a minus, to a position where they're going to be repelled from each other. Okay? So, first question. In which direction will electrons flow while the spheres P and T are in contact? Now, please be careful here, guys, because what they say to us is they say, write down only. Either you're going to write from P to T, or you're going to write from T to P. No explanation needed. You don't need to write anything else down. You don't need to explain it. You don't need to write anything. So now we look and we go, okay. Remember, with electric charges, only electrons can move. So this is positive. which means that has far too little electrons. This is negative, so this has too many electrons. So the electrons are going to go from T to P, okay? Because they're going to go from the negative to the positive. So when I write this down, I'm actually not going to write it, but that's my answer. That's what I write down, from T to P. It's all I need to write, okay? Now they say, calculate the net charge gained or lost by P after the spheres have been in contact. So now we're going to look and we go, okay, well, P starts at +3, but it's going to change. So the first thing I need to do is work out how much charge did it lose or gain. So the first thing I need to do is work out what is the new charge. So we're going to say my new charge is going to be the charge on, P, plus the charge on T divided by 2. So in other words, I've got +3 times 10 to the -9 plus -6 all divided by 2. Now guys, you don't have to do the next step. It's going to give me -3, which means this is going to now give me -1.5. Okay, times 10 to the -9. But we're not done, because the question says, calculate the net charge gained or lost. This is simply what the new charge is. We're looking for the change in charge. So we want change in charge. So we're going to go final minus initial, and this is for P, okay? The final charge was -1.5, and I'm going to run out of space, but it's okay, you guys can manage this. The initial was +3 times 10 to the -10, so we do this. So that means we've got a change of -4.5 times 10 to the -9 coulombs. What that means for us is that P gained 4.5 times 10 to the -9 coulombs of negative charges. So I can work out how many electrons that is, because that's actually the next question, and that will help me know how many it gained. So we go to the next question. It says, how many electrons is transferred? Well, the number of electrons. Guys, this is not an equation on your information sheet. This is something you just got to remember. Is going to be my change in charge divided by the charge on an electron. Okay? Little q, little e tells me it's the charge on an electron. So we've got -4.5 times 10 to the -9. The charge on the electron is on your information sheets. It's not something you need to remember, but hopefully by now it's one that you know. And it's -1.6 times 10 to the -19. And I do actually have the answer already, because I realized I didn't open the calculator. I'll do that in the break. Here, come down. Okay, and we get okay, 2.81 times, no. Sorry. Sure, see, this board doesn't like me, I'm telling you. 2.81 times 10 to the 10. When it comes to number of electrons being transferred, grade 12s, you are always going to get a big number, okay? No if, buts, or maybes about that. Especially for something like this. The only time you can get a really small number is if this is very tiny. But that's not tiny, that's big, okay, in comparison. So we get 2.81 times 10 to the 10, which means 2.81 times 10 to the 10 electrons went from T to P. Okay, that's what is happening. But we're not done yet. Whoops, sorry. So the board is having a bit of a moment today. Says to us, next part, 2 metal sphere, blah, 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 and it's the same question. Now they say to us, this is the type of question we really don't like. A third sphere R carrying a charge of -3 times 10 to the -9 is now placed between P and T at a distance of 1 meter. So now, remember, each of these now have a charge of minus 1,5. Okay, we've just worked that out. Now they're saying to me that I'm putting another charge R 1 meter from T, so I'm going to put it over here. This is position R. This is 1 meter. This is half a meter. And this has a charge of minus 3 times 10 to the minus 9 coulombs. Calculate the net force experienced by R. Now, you need to recognize, before we do anything else, that there's a force on R because of P. Okay? That force is going to push to the right. Because it's a negative and a negative, they're going to be repelled away from each other. There's a force on R because of T. Okay? That is going to go to the left because they are both negative. What I want is my net force is when I take the force on R because of P and add it to the force on R because of T. That's net force, just like with vectors that you did last year, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is we are going to work out the force on R because of P. Okay, QR, QP over R squared. Remember, K is a constant, 9 times 10 to the 9. R, they told you, was 3 times 10 to the minus 9. P, we know, is 1,5. I leave out the negatives. It doesn't make a difference here. It's 0,5 meters squared. And we put this into our calculator. Sorry, I'm just getting my answers because it's going to make our life a little bit faster. So we get 1,62 times 10 to the minus 7 newtons. It's the force on R because of P. Right. Don't put attraction. Okay? Don't put attraction because it's not going to help you later on. Okay? It's very specifically the force on R because of P. Okay? Now we're going to do the same with T. So we're going to do the force on R because of T. Okay, 9 times 10 to the 9. R is 3 times 10. Pretty much it looks the same as the last one, except, whoops, sorry, it's minus 9. It's now 1 squared. I've just recently marked my learners' grade prelim papers. Please don't forget to square out. It's a mistake I see all the time. You put it in the equation, you then do your substitution, all of a sudden square disappears. You lose really lots of marks for something that's silly. And now what we get is 4,05 times 10 to the minus 8. We said earlier that this is to the left. You now need to make a decision. We have two forces, either to the left or to the right is positive. Let's say to the right is positive just because we can. Okay? So my net force is the force on R because of P plus my force on R because of T. And that force was 1,62 times 10 to the minus 7. This is negative because I chose to the right as positive. Okay. And I end up with a negative answer here. No, I don't, because that's minus 8. I'm lying to you. So it's 1,22 times 10 to the minus 7. But I need to have a direction in words. It's a positive answer. So it's going to the right. This entire question, grade 12s, is grade 11 work. Okay, you've got to go back and relook at it. And I think it's a good place for a break.
Yes, it is. But before we take that break, Mindsetters, let me remind you that you can join also our online study group to help other Mindsetters and also for you to seek for help. The Mindset group is Mindset Physical Science. All one word. I've posted the link also on the Facebook page. But otherwise, currently we are on 53,933. So if 3 is your lucky number, you are leading in the meantime. But get other Mindsetters if your number is not 3 to like the page and also share it on your own wall. Otherwise, we'll see you after the page. After the break. Ivuile Mavenkelen, I hope you enjoyed the little break that we had. Otherwise, I just want to ask this to you, Mindsetters, and you, Tracy, also. Did you know that in KwaZulu-Natal, on the 24th of September, which is today, used to be celebrated as Shaka Day in commemoration of the King Shaka Zulu?
Okay, I actually didn't know that.
Now you know.
I do know who he is, though.
You know him?
Oh, yeah, that was one of my favorite programs growing up. You're far too young to remember
and you
that
used to watch,
series.
there was a movie also on his life.
Was it a movie?
Yeah, there was a movie.
Yeah, the guy who played Shaka, ooh, he was cute. Big and oof,
talking about cute people, here's a comment I have on Facebook.
No.
From the Mindsetters, Kabelo DJ Mpatele, DJ KB says, yo, I loved how this beautiful lady teaches, Tracy.
Oh, you can embarrass me.
Beautiful lady.
Oh, thank you.
And happy Heritage Day to all the Mindsetters, also from Kennedy Chikuku. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, we're in an incredible country where, you know, even though I do have completely British parents, but I'm proudly South African, born here, raised here, lived in the UK for a year, will never do it again.
And you can only speak 2 South African languages.
Yeah, we have issues, hey?
Yeah.
I'm good with science.
Okay.
I'm good with
Stick
science.
to it.
And my kids know in my own classroom, they correct my English all the time, and I can't draw either. So, you know, it's important to stick to what you're good at. And I don't really want to...
But learn also. Be open-minded.
I know I want to, I just butcher it.
Oh.
It's just not pretty. It's not pretty. It's just
We'll give you some time.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. So, guys, we have a challenge question for you. We are working on getting the notes uploaded for you. Okay, so I'm going to leave the challenge question with you for a little while. And I'm going to read it with you. You might want to take some notes down. I'd be really keen to see if any of you get this. It's a great challenge question. Says to us, 2 spheres, Q1 and Q2. Q1 is +4 microcoulombs, and Q2 is -8 microcoulombs. They are suspended from thin strings and held 1 meter apart. That's the first diagram. They attract each other and are allowed to touch. After touching, they separate and are moved to a position 0.5 meters apart. Now, the question is, compare the magnitude of the forces between the spheres before and after they touch. So probably the easiest thing to do is to write down what the values are. So I'm going to put it here for those of you that are trying to take this down. So we have +4 over here. Ooh, should write it so you can read it. +4 microcoulombs, okay, and this is -8 microcoulombs. So they're allowed to touch. After they touch, okay, they're now 0.5 meters apart, and they want to know how they compare. So let's just, I'm going to give you a bit of a hint. Make the force between them originally F. Okay, so I want to know what is the new F. I don't want an actual value. Okay, so what I'm saying to you is I don't want a value. I don't want to know whether it's 25 newtons or 30 newtons. I want a comparison. So what we're asking you here is it 2 times bigger, 3 times smaller, a half, a quarter? What's their comparison? What's the ratio between them? Okay, we are working at getting the notes up there. So I hope
they are up already.
They're up. So the challenge question is there. What's the link to get the notes?
The notes is on learnextra.co.za/spring school. But the first notes link is on the Facebook page.
There we go. So you look on the Facebook page, get it. It's a great question. I love these type of questions. These are my favorite. We'll come back to it. Okay, so there we go. Oh, sorry, guys. And actually, for a change, it really is the board's fault that we're not doing so well on the board. The arrows aren't matching. Anyway, Next question, question 9 from the 2011 paper. Anyway, learners conduct an investigation to verify Ohm's law. They measure the current through a conducting wire for different potential differences across its ends. The results obtained are shown in the graph. So here we've got a very nice graph, and this question is actually such a nice question. It's a bit mean, but it's a really nice one. Which one of the measured quantities is the dependent variable? Guys, this is where you need to remember your dependent variable is always on the x-axis. So my dependent variable is potential difference, voltage. Okay? Nice and simple. Then they say the graph deviates from Ohm's law at some point. Write down the coordinates of the plotted point on the graph beyond which Ohm's law is not obeyed. So we look at the graph and we go, actually, the graph, if we look at it, is a straight line all the way, I'm just following, it's not exactly on line, all the way up to here. At that point, the graph starts to turn. This point right here is where it is no longer obeying Ohm's law. So if I look down, it's at 4, and if I look across, it's over here. It's not very, sorry, it's actually over there. Okay, it's 0.64 amps. So my point would be, and when we write down, I always get the coordinates are going to be at, let's just check again, 4 volts. Okay, and 0.64 amps. Guys, please remember with this, you still need to put the units in, because basically they're asking you at what voltage and what current did it stop obeying Ohm's law. When did it start to become a curve or change shape or anything like that? Then they say, give a possible reason for the deviation from Ohm's law as shown in the graph. Assume that all measurements are correct. So in other words, you can't say human error. Okay? Human error means that you measured something wrong. Now we've got to go back to our definition of Ohm's law. So Ohm's law says to us that the potential difference across the resistor is directly proportional to the current through the resistor, provided temperature remains constant. Okay, so the proviso here, the thing that needs to stay the same is temperature. If the temperature does not remain constant, then potential difference and current can't be directly proportional. So the first thing we've got to say to ourselves, well, if they no longer work the way they're supposed to, then that means that temperature changed. Okay? You don't know whether it was increased or decreased. They didn't ask you that. They said what didn't stay the same? Temperature. Temperature must have changed. Okay? Now, same question. We're going to carry on with this question. It says to us, calculate the gradient to the graph for the section where Ohm's law is obeyed. Use this to calculate the resistance of the conducting wire. So we go straight back to maths and we go, fine, we're looking for gradient. Okay. Gradient is change in Y value, divided by change in X value. You cannot write it as change in Y over change in X, grade 12s. You don't have X and Y, you have I and V. Okay, rise over run, whichever way you've learnt it. So now we go back to the graph and we go, fine. And I'm going to say, use as much of the graph as you can. We know that up to this point over here, it's a straight line. So let's use the 0.64. Okay, minus 0, because that's where it started. We also knew that it was at 4 minus 0. So we're going to have 0.64 divided by 4. Okay, and that's going to give me 0.16. Now be careful. This is why I liked this graph so much in the exam. We know that generally speaking, the gradient to the graph for Ohm's law gives me resistance. But if we go here, resistance is V divided by I. V divided by I. Problem here, look what we've done. We've got I divided by V. That means, so watch carefully, okay, 1 over R is I divided by V. We've got the inverse. We turned it upside down. So if 1 over R is I divided by V, it's 0.16. So to get R, this is like what we did in resistors in parallel. R is then 1 divided by 0.16, which gives me 6.25 ohms. Okay? Hopefully we're all sort of okay with that. We've got the inverse. Please be careful. I really like this question because I saw this often. And it's a bit mean, okay? But what they're really testing you in this question, grade 12s, is do you understand that R equals V over I? You can find R from the gradient of an Ohm's law graph, regardless of which way they put it, as long as you recognize whether you have to turn it upside down or not. Okay? This was a really, really nice question. From here, we could have asked all sorts of things, okay? So before we go into the next one, is we really could have asked you, things like, what is the investigative question? And your investigative question would be, what is the relationship between potential difference in current of a resistor provided resistance temperature remains constant? Could have asked you for hypothesis, could have asked you for an aim, could have asked you for your variables, dependent, independent, constant, which they did do in a roundabout sort of way. So please just be careful with these questions, okay? You are going to be asked them in your exam. Now, let's have a look at the next question. We'll start it. Okay, we probably won't get through all of it before we need to take a break, but it's okay. The headlamp and 2 identical tail lamps of a scooter are connected in parallel. Important word, identical. That means R is the same. They're connected in parallel to a battery of unknown internal resistance. Oh, the words we hate to see. As shown in the simplified circuit. So let's have a look here. We've got tail lamp 1, tail lamp 2. That must be the headlamp, okay, yes. As shown, the headlamp has a resistance of 2.4 ohms and is controlled by S1. The tail lamps are controlled by S2. The resistance of the connecting wires may be ignored. Yay, something we like to see, okay? So, first thing is let's just recognize that we come out the, let's do it with something a little bit thicker. Let's do it with a highlighter, okay? Comes out, gets to that point. We now have parallel, so some of it goes through over here. And I don't know if you can actually see the difference, but some of it goes through over there. And then it joins back up, okay? Now, what we need to recognize is, number one, the battery gets all the current. Okay, the battery is in series with the entire circuit, which means that the internal resistance of the cell gets all the current. Always, always, always. No exceptions to that, ever. The current is going to split between the headlamp and the tail lamps, okay? Both tail lamps, they are in series with each other. They are going to get the same amount of current, okay? The headlamp will get a different amount of current. Whether the headlamp and the tail lamps get the same current all depends on whether the tail lamp's total resistance is 2.4 ohms, which I don't know at this point. What I do know is that if I had to put a voltmeter over here or a voltmeter over these two, they're going to be the same value, okay? Which will be the same value as the voltmeter over the battery when the switches are closed, not when the switches are open. When the switches are open, the voltmeter is going to be measuring EMF, total resistance. As soon as I close one of the switches, internal resistance kicks in, and now it's measuring the external, okay? They also then give me a graph, which I said alongside, it's actually at the top, which shows the potential difference of the terminals of the battery before and after S1 is closed. And then S1 is closed at time T1. Now this is very important. That value there is actually 9,6. That value is 12. Before S1 is closed, S2 is still open. This value is EMF. It's my total. Okay? Once T1 is closed, that gives me external voltage because now we have current moving. Okay? And I think, Abby,
Yes.
that we need our viewers to mull over that for a little bit.
Indeed, because was started in 10 years. So otherwise, mindsets don't move,
Yeah.
don't go anywhere. Just chill a bit. Join the mindset group, which is Mindset Physical Science, because we have also notes there and other mindsetters that are helping one another, which is so good. Team spirit. That's how we do it. See you after this. Welcome back, mindsetters, and even to those mindsetters that just joined us like now, like Msovo, welcome, you are late. Otherwise, on the page, Tracy, we have some mindsetters who are awake, learning with us, and have a
Completely.
lot to say.
Yes, I'm hearing that, and I'm very glad they're awake and they're realizing some of us are human. I
Yes.
may have made a mistake.
Yes.
So let's correct it quickly. All right. And guys, really, I'm glad you're awake and you're with us, and I really don't mind being corrected. And I hope you realize that even your teachers make mistakes, and we're also human. And so, well done. Okay. Now, the question here was from the last question, and said, which one of the measured quantities is the dependent variable? And I went and told you it was potential difference, and then on the page, I was very rightly told, no, Tracy, the dependent variable is on the y-axis and the independent variable is on the x-axis, and you are 100% correct. The independent variable is always on the x-axis, and you know what it is? It's also because I know that generally we put potential difference as our dependent variable. It's generally the one we actually measure, but it's fine. The dependent variable is actually current. Okay, that's the one we were measuring. Potential difference is the one we were controlling. So potential difference is the independent variable. So thank you so much. Yes.
That is Shikash, Kaylan, Kennedy, and other mindsetters.
Wow, there's a whole bunch of
There's
you.
a whole lot of people.
Well, okay, sorry guys. I'm actually just testing you're awake. That's what it was.
Nice one.
Yes.
And I think we have a question.
Yes.
There's a question that says, what is the difference between electric field and electric strength?
Field strength. Okay.
Yes.
We're not quite going to get to electric field and electric field strength, but electric field is simply the area around a charge where another charge experiences a force, okay, whereas electric field strength is the force experienced per unit charge, basically. So electric field strength has to do with the size of the force field, felt, whereas electric field is simply the fact that it exists, okay, that something will experience a force. And it's a little neither here nor there. You don't measure an electric field. You can find the shape of an electric field. You can see what it looks like. But electric field strength are the ones where you can measure it with the equations E equals F over Q, E equals KQ over R squared, E equals V over D. You know, you've got all those wonderful equations.
And the challenge
Yes.
question, I have so many answers.
Yes, I heard that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Before the challenge question, Gabrielo says, by the way, Uzoba strong.
Does that mean I'm doing well?
You'll be strong.
Okay, good.
You'll
I
be
like
okay.
it. Okay,
Yes,
got it.
yes. So many of my sisters are saying the answer is half.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm hoping that it's not just a guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
But how come more than 19 people are saying that?
So do you think that might be right?
Definitely.
Okay. Has anyone got anything different?
No.
No, everyone's getting a half.
No.
Okay, guys, I'm going to leave it out there a little bit longer, let you stew, because I can. Okay, just give some of the others a little bit more time to do it. And I want you to relook at, and I'm not saying you're wrong or right. I'm not going to say that.
Well, there is a different one.
Is
Just
there?
one. Yeah.
Which is?
Saying 0.5.
That's a half.
But he says it will be 1 times. Okay. He's right.
You see, I'm not the only one who can make a mistake. I like
So
it.
strong.
Okay, I'm not really sure what that means, but I'm going to go with it. So it's all about learning new things today. Okay. So maybe just now you can teach me some new words.
Yeah.
Just easy ones without clicks in them. Okay, I'm just saying. Anyway, moving on. So what we'll do is I am going to answer the challenge question, so I want to show you how to work it out, okay? But I just want to leave it a little bit longer for the ones that are struggling still. Just give them a little bit more time. I promise I'm going to do it. Let's go back to our question with our tail lamps, okay? And the first part here says, use the graph to determine the EMF of the battery. Well, we actually did that before the break because I said to you that the 12 volts is the EMF. So before we switched anything on, the 12 volts gives me my EMF. We're happy. Okay, not a problem. Then it says with only switch S1 closed, calculate the following. The first thing is the current through the headlamp. So we go, okay, well, only S1 is closed, and I'm just going to take out some of my scribbling because I just want to make it a little bit easier for me to see what's going on. Okay, only S1 is closed, so this part is closed. We're ignoring that part of my circuit. When S1 is closed, this voltmeter reading changes to 9,6, and I know the resistance, it's 2,4. So we're going to go here, and there's definitely not enough space, so I'm going to do it at the bottom here. So this is 3.2.1. R equals V over I. I'm using the 2,4 ohms. I'm using the fact that that's 9,6, and I'm looking for I, okay? So I is now equal to 9,6 divided by 2,4. Sorry. And I have the answer here somewhere. If my tablet would actually just let me, there we go. Okay, no, still not there. And we do get, ooh, look at that. Sure. 4 amps, okay? 4 amperes, we're happy with that. Now, this is where life gets interesting because now they say to us, wow, this thing's doing its own thing. I'm just going to say, I think I'm playing with the keyboard by accident. What is the internal resistance of the battery? So now we've got to say to ourselves, remember we have an equation that says to us that EMF equals I R plus little r. I'm going to use that equation. Grade 12s, what's really important here, particularly with circuits, there's always more than one way to do 90% of your questions, okay? Every single option is put on on the memo, okay? So if you download any of the memos, you'll see that sometimes there's 4 options, and in fact last year I marked a paper where we ended up with 15 different ways of answering a question. It was a bit of a nightmare, but it's okay. 15 different ways. So we take all of that into consideration. So please don't go, well, that's not how I would have done it, Tracy. I would have done it this way. It's fine. As long as you're getting the same answer, we're okay. All right. Now, we said that the EMF was 12. We've worked out the current to be 4. We know that that's 2,4, and we want little r. Now, I like to do things easy way. I'm not going to multiply the 4 in. I'm going to divide both sides by 4. Because then I get this, which then means R equals 0,6 ohms. Internal resistance must be a lowercase r. It's little r. Very, very important. Little r. Must be small. So if you work out the internal resistance and you get a value of 10, you have done something wrong, grade 12s, sorry. Definitely done something wrong. Must be little. 1 ohms is a little big, but it's acceptable. Generally, it's less than 1, okay? No, next part of the question says to us, the graph, both switches S1 and S2 are now closed. The battery delivers a current of 6 amps during this time. Calculate the resistance of the tail lamp. Very, very important. I know little r, which is 0,6 ohms, okay? I do not know external voltage. Those 9,6 volts is only valid when S1 is closed. Both are now closed. It's going to change. Okay, so my total current is now 6 amps. I know what the EMF is. It's 12 volts. Now stick with me, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to work out the total external resistance, okay? I times R plus R. So EMF is 12. I is 6. Oops, sorry, there shouldn't be a plus there. That's R plus 0.6. Okay, I'm going to divide both sides. And what happens here is that R is now equal to 1.4 ohms. But I'm not done. Because that 1.4 ohms is all of that added together. Okay? All of that added together. These are in parallel. So watch what I'm going to do. Okay? I'm going to say, if I add both the headlamps together, these are the tail lamps, I'm going to call them RT. Okay? That would be my both headlamps together. They're exactly the same. So I'm going to call them RT for now. I'm going to make my life a bit easier. This is my parallel voltage resistance. That's all I have. Ooh, sorry. I'll just throw the pen around. Okay. You all awake? Okay, good. Right now, the director is thinking, I think we need another presenter. Sorry. Okay. 1 over R parallel. It's going to be 1 over the 2.4 ohms plus 1 over RT. Horrible maths. I know. It's okay. We can do this. Okay. So this is 1 over 4 equal to, not plus, 1 over 1.4 equal to 1 over 2.4 plus 1 over RT. Now guys, I fully understand most of you are really good with calculators and you can actually do this on your calculators without thinking twice. So we're going to have 1 over 1.4 minus 1 over 2.4 equal to 1 over RT. Okay. And, sorry, I'm just going to make sure I get the... This is just horrible maths, I understand that. And I realized I went straight to the answer. Okay. Sorry, I just need to open the calculator quickly. Oh, I should have done this beforehand. Okay. Come on. Okay, guys, you're going to have to believe me on this one. I'm sorry. The cameras on the screen aren't quite in sync.
Yeah, hey?
That's what I'm blaming, okay? So RT works out to be 3.36. Okay, but we're not done. Because that's both headlamps together. Okay? That wasn't the question. The question is, what is the resistance of each headlamp? Now, I've already said that together they're 3.36, but, okay, RT1 is equal to RT2. So that means I could actually say that RT, if I write it like this, is actually equal to 2 times RT1, because they're the same thing. So 3.36 equals 2 times RT1. So RT1 would be equal to half of that, okay, which is 1.68, and that would be equal to my second headlamp as well, okay? Like I said, lots of ways around this. I do it in the way that I find most logical. I like to use the simplest equations possible. I know that you have equations that some of you might have been taught the equations where you use ratios and you go R1 plus R2 divided by R1 times R2. You're going to get yourself into trouble with those equations if you can't remember them. Okay? Really, really is a choice thing. It doesn't matter. Okay. Now, still same question. It was quite a long question. Now they say, how will the reading on the voltmeter be affected if the headlamp burns out? Both S1 and S2 are still closed. Write down only increases, decreases, remains the same. So, circuit's closed, this one burns out. If we remove a resistor in parallel, total resistance increases, okay? So watch where I'm going. My resistance total is going to, I'll write it like this. Resistance total increases. That means that my current is going to decrease, okay? Now the question is, how will the reading on the voltmeter be affected? If there is less current going through the battery, okay, our internal resistance times I becomes smaller, okay? So we have less current, so that means my V internal is going to decrease. Therefore, my external voltage increases and the reading on the voltmeter gets bigger. Okay? So you would write increases. Why? Because your total resistance has increased. Therefore, total current decreases. My last volt decreases. So my external voltage must increase. Okay? Sure. Okay, I think we're done for now. It's definitely time for a break.
Yeah, well, there's so many other answers that came through. Just like Alpha is saying, my answer is 4. The force will be 4 times bigger. So we'll see
good.
when we're answering that challenge question.
I like it.
But just a status update, Minds. It is currently on our likes. We are on 956. So the last digit is 6. Your lucky number was 7, right?
Yes.
So if we were to stop the clock now, you only need 1 like, and mine is 2. So it means I'll still need like 8 more.
So let me understand. Because you liked 2, everyone who liked 2 would go into the draw.
When we stop the clock.
When we stop the clock.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Right.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Otherwise, we'll see you after the break.
Okay.
Welcome back, awesome mindsetters. We're still celebrating and commemorating Heritage Day. I hope you're all up chilled, learning more with us and celebrating the diversity that we have in our country, because it is all about being united as one country and learning other people's languages and different cultures.
I agree.
So that's why we are such a beautiful country. It's because we are a mixture of different cultures, religions, and languages. So that's why we need to learn more. Learn also the language that we teach in physics.
Well, actually, just in terms of language, it's quite interesting, because obviously one of the debates in the country is why don't we teach in the vernacular, which is important. But science can't be taught in the vernacular.
What do you mean can't?
The words don't exist.
But we can always create
We can make
them.
up, well, that's what they did in Afrikaans.
Yes.
They made up the words, but that would take a while. So there's lots of, the science words actually don't exist in any of our languages.
I'm sure we have some young, innovative mindsets.
I'm sure we do. I think
that.
it would be quite a thing. Because, I mean, that's the whole issue with why science in high school can't be taught, is only taught in English and Afrikaans.
I think also maths, it could be quite challenging. Writing numbers, number 1. It will be so hard.
It could get, yeah. Anyway, yeah. It's just one of those. I found that quite interesting when I found that out. It's just, you know, it's also why it's difficult to, which is a pity. It will take time, but I think we'll get there. I mean, I think our languages are quite young in a lot of ways, and we're still learning to write them down. And you know, I think it will be. I think it'll be important
eventually.
Yeah,
because there are countries with more than 11, about 20 languages. You can imagine. Yes.
Well, all the dialects and stuff. Yes. Now stop showing off now, okay? Just stop showing off. My dialect is English. And right now, if any of my learners are watching, they are canning themselves. They think this is the funniest thing since sliced cheese. They're like, yeah, that's about right for my teacher. Oh. Anyway, moving on. Could you imagine what it's like being in my classroom?
We're being classified here.
Am I being crucified?
No, we're being tracified.
Yes,
that's what also...
I like that word. Anyway, so we'll just make up our own language. Moving on. So, more electricity, which I absolutely love, by the way, in the circuit represented a battery or EMF, and this is from the February 2013 paper, which is a good one to get hold of. They're really difficult papers. The battery of EMF 30 volts and unknown internal resistance. We hate it when there's internal resistance, it's okay. But first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to write that I know that the EMF is 30 volts. As shown, ignore the resistance of the ammeter, etc. That's brilliant. So we've got our nice circuit, and we go, if we look at it, okay, is the current comes out here. I'm just going to do it like this so you can see, gets to this point over here. Current splits, so some of it goes through the 6 ohm resistor, gets to that point. Some of it goes through the 10 ohm resistor, and then it all meets back over here. So what that tells me is, before I've even done the circuit, that all the current goes through the 5 ohm and the 8 ohm, all the current goes through the internal resistance. This voltmeter is in parallel, which means the voltage over the 6 ohm is the voltage over the 10 ohm, which is the voltage over the parallel. We like this, and that's all we can know for now. So, first question. The current passing through the 10 ohm resistor is 0.6 amps. So that's only part of the current. The equivalent resistance, first thing they ask is calculate the equivalent resistors of the two resistors in parallel. We can do that because we have a resistor of 6 ohm, a resistor of 10 ohms. So we go here and we say fine. So this is 4.1. 1 over R parallel is 1 over my 6 ohm resistor plus 1 over my 10 ohm resistor. I'm just giving it a name. If you call it R1 and R2, it's fine. So we have 1 over 6 plus 1 over 10. I'm going to do this old school. Okay, because I know you can do this on your calculators. My LCD is 60, so this is 10 plus 6, which means I get 16 over 60. Now, please be careful. Probably the biggest hint, tip, important thing I can tell you to do is when you walk into your science exam, you take your calculator off maths display. You put it onto linear display. Okay, however that gets done, make sure you learn how to do it on your calculators, because your calculators leave things as fractions for you. You cannot leave an answer as a fraction. It must be a decimal. But now we're not done, because this is 1 over R parallel. So we need to go R parallel, which is 60 divided by 16. And we get 3.75 ohms. Okay, so we go back here. And what I like to do is I go, fine, I know that R parallel is 3.75 ohms. And in fact, and I've been teaching for 17 years, guys, so I've been doing this for a long time. I particularly think I'm quite good at circuits, because it's the one section I really love. I get all excited when I get to teach circuits, and my kids just go, yeah, whatever. So, but what this circuit looks like right now, okay, with all the scribbling and everything, that's what it looks like when I do these problems for the first time. Okay, this is exactly what my circuit would look like. Okay, so now they say to us, calculate the current through the 8 ohm resistor. Okay, they want this current. That means I need total current. Now we've got to say to ourselves, okay, let's see what we've got. I know EMF is 30. I don't know little r. So that means I can't use total resistance here. Okay, so there's no way I can use total resistance. So somehow I've got to use this section. What I need to recognize is if I can work out the current through the 6 ohm resistor, add it to the current of the 0.6 amps, it gives me my total. Okay? I'm going to have to do this in more than one step. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work out what V is, because V is in parallel. So let's do this. We'll do this in another color. We'll start here. No, let's not start there. Let's do this. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is work out what the voltage in parallel is. I know the current through, and it was the 10 ohm resistor. We've just worked that out. Well, I was given that, which would be my parallel divided by resistance of my 10 ohms. So this is 0.6. This is V parallel. That's 10. So my parallel voltage is 6 volts. Okay, you all with me so far? That means, so we come back here, that's 6 volts. I know that I can work out the current through the 6 ohm resistor. So we go back here and we say, fine, if I want the current, oh, I actually wrote these down very strangely. Okay, watch, this is where we should have actually started, is 6 ohm voltage, which is parallel, current through the 6 ohms, so that's 6, and we want I, so that means it is 1 amp, okay? So we go back here and we say, fine, I know that was 6, I know that that's 1 amp, and right now you're screaming at me, go, well, we can do that. 1 plus 0.6 is 1.6. So when we write this in, we go, fine, my current total is going to be the current through the 10 ohm resistor plus the current through the 6 ohm resistor, which is 0.6 plus 1.6 amps, okay? Grade 12s, these little subscripts, the 6 ohm and the 10 ohm and all the rest of it, those, you're not gonna lose marks per se if you don't put them in, but if your marker and your examiner doesn't know what values you're trying to work out, where you're going, they can't give you marks. Okay, so rather put it in for me. So we know that this total all the way up here is 1.6 amps, okay? Now, ooh, calculate internal resistance. Wow. Okay, so not as difficult as it actually looks, because I've got 5 ohms. I know that this is 3.75. Don't have to work it out again. I know that that's 8. And if we go and look at the equation, all right, so EMF equals I R plus little r. I know EMF, okay? They told us it was 30. I know I've just worked it out. I can work out R, okay? Because R is equal to, and if we look back, it was the 5 ohm resistor plus the resistors in parallel plus the 8 ohm. So it's 5 plus 3.75 plus 8, and gives me 16.75 ohms. I know, not nice numbers, it's all right, we can live with that. 16.75 plus R. We're going to go 30 divided by 16, 1.6. And I actually do want to show you this, so let me put the calculator on, which is...
All right, Tracy.
Anyway, no, we got it. We'll just take one. There we go.
It's not you.
I've got it. I'm good. Okay. So we go 30 divided by 1.6. Okay. This is what I was telling you about earlier. You see it says 75 divided by 4. You can't actually leave it as 75 divided by 4. Okay. You've got to change it to to your natural display. So it's 18.75, so we can put that down. So we get 18.75. That's 16.75 plus R. So R equals 2 ohms. And right now, some of you are going, but Tracy, hang on. You said to us that you can't have a big internal resistance. You are correct, but look at the question. This is a battery, not an individual cell. Each of these cells, if this was say made up of 4 cells, each of those cells would be half an ohm. Okay, the total internal resistance can be quite large, okay, depending on the battery. So even when you're looking at like a car battery which has 6 individual cells in it, each of those individual cells, if they each half an ohm, then the total internal resistance is 3. So it's okay if the total is fairly large. Even so, if you got 10 ohms down there, I'd say, okay, there's a problem somewhere, okay, but it's quite okay for this because it's a battery and it's an EMF of 30 volts. It's quite a big battery, okay? It's a fairly large battery, so a fairly large internal resistance is quite acceptable. Grade 12s, like I said to you earlier, there really is more than one way to do these questions. Always, always, always. Okay, now I think what we're going to do is I don't actually want to start the next question, so I think I'm going to go answer the challenge question quickly.
That'll be nice.
Okay, because we still have lots of...
Yeah, different answers.
So let's go do the challenge question. Now, all of you are going to have been taught how to do questions like this. I'm going to show you how I do questions like this, okay? First thing I need to recognize here is that I go from when they touch, okay, so the two things are going to touch, they're going to move apart. So plus 4 minus 8 gives me minus 4 divided by 2. Each of these now become minus 2 microcoulombs. Okay, minus 2 microcoulombs. So now, watch what I'm going to do here. Okay, and this is the way I like to do these. My original force was this. No one's going to argue over that. Okay? Q1 went from plus 4 to minus 2. Don't worry about the minus 2. The fact is that it's 2 times smaller. Okay? So it's now 2 times smaller. So Q1 has now changed to a half the original. Okay? Just keep with me. Q2 went from 8 to 2. So that's 4 times smaller, so it's a quarter. It's original, okay? Your distance went from 1 to a half. So my distance is now a half my original distance. I don't think I've lost anyone yet, okay? Now watch. My new force is going to be K times a half times my original times by a quarter times my original divided by a half times R squared, okay? So in other words, I have a half. I'm going to take out my constants, K, Q1, Q2. That's a half squared, which is 1 over 4. This one actually worked out quite nicely in terms of being able to cancel stuff out because the quarter cancels the quarter. So you get a half times the original. So for all of you that told me it's a half, you are 100% correct. Okay, lots of ways around to do it. Okay, but basically as long as you can get the difference in the way you set it out, it's really important. You can do it. You can answer this question using words if you wanted to, but I think it makes life difficult. But this is the way I like to do it when you put in numbers and you take out the original. So those of you who got a half, well done, because this was difficult. This actually was very difficult.
Hence, it is a challenging question.
Yes, absolutely. So I think it's time for a break.
Right. Before we take that break, remember
Yes.
earlier on we spoke about different languages?
Yes, what am I going to learn?
Did you know that in India, they
Yes.
have about 400 languages,
I knew that.
and 18 of them are included in their constitution, but there's
Wow.
only 2 official languages. It is Hindi and English.
Wow.
And out of that, there's about 15 of them that are written on their currency.
Jeez, how do you communicate when there's that many languages?
400 languages.
Just, wow, that's scary.
On that
Scary,
note,
scary.
my answer is just learn the 12 that we have in South Africa with sign language, of course. Just learn that, and then you'll be okay. Uzoba strong. Otherwise, stay tuned. Unganyagazi. We'll see you after the break. Welcome back, Mindsetters. Now I have so much comments on the Facebook page about you, Tracy. Some are saying you should be an actress, and some are saying they just want to kidnap you. Sianda, they
Please
want to
don't.
kidnap you just until they're final.
Please don't. I have 2 bunnies at home. They'll miss me.
we'll miss you too. So
Yeah,
we
no,
don't
my
want
bunnies
that.
will miss me. They love me lots too, but thank you.
Aw. Right, Magnetism, I'm just going to refresh the page for the last time, just for it to be fair with everyone. Then I stop the clock now.
Okay, got
Ne-
it.
So in
So
just a minute time, I'm refreshing, and then we'll stop the clock.
Okay, so
Right.
we'll see if my lucky number wins. Okay, so can I get going?
Yes, it's refreshing.
Thank
and I
you.
have a feeling it's going to get to 2 because it is 53,981, and I'm refreshing. Well, it's done. It is 53,981. So if your number is 1, you get yourself
In the draw.
You get to go to a draw.
You get to the draw, so you haven't won anything yet, but you're in the draw for the
And winners will be
mystery box.
announced on the last show, which will start from 4 o'clock up until 5 o'clock. It is a history show, so make sure that you watch that show.
Which is quite appropriate for today. I wonder if they're doing South African
And
history.
the next one after this one, it's going to be geography. So
Even
today,
better.
every show is just relevant.
Except for mine. But it's okay,
No,
I'm
we
on it.
start
It's-
with physical stuff, and then we get to
it's
geography.
good. Yeah, well, we could always do the science of Brian, but let's not go there, okay? Because that is definitely a South African thing. Sorry, just have to tell us. I lived in the UK, like I said, for a year, and when you mention Brian, they look at you like, what? Or biltong. Hello. They look at you like you're mad because you're eating raw meat. I'm going, there's nothing nicer. I could live off biltong, just saying. Moving on.
Same here.
Absolutely.
Same here.
Anyway, so now diesel electric trains make use of electric motors as well as generators. And the table below asks you to compare a motor and a generator in terms of the energy and that sort of stuff. So in a motor, they want, and these are very popular type questions, what is the energy conversion? So now remember, in a motor, we go from electrical to mechanical. So we take electrical energy and we make something move. The principle that it works on is the motor effect. Probably the easiest one to remember because it's called the motor. Your generator is the opposite of a motor. It takes mechanical energy and it converts it to electrical. And the principle that it uses is not Faraday's law. Okay, Faraday's law just helps us explain it. It's electromagnetic induction. Okay, because we're inducing current. Okay, electromagnetic induction. All right, then, second part of this question says to us, oh, I love these. And in fact, if you were watching the show before now, you would have seen some of this. The simplified diagram below represents an electric motor. First thing I say is I look at this and I go, first of all, we need to be able to distinguish whether it's a DC motor or an AC motor. It has a split ring commutator. This is DC. Okay, direct current's got a split ring. Give a reason why the section of the coil labeled BC in the above diagram does not experience a magnetic force whilst the coil is in its position. So here it is. Remember, BC is parallel to the magnetic field. Parallel to the magnetic field. That means no magnetic force. Your coil must be at right angles. Okay? It must cut it. So from A to B, if this is my magnetic field going down, A to B is going like this. Okay? So it's cutting it at 90 degrees. This is not. It's parallel. As soon as it's parallel, it'll experience no force whatsoever. Okay? So A, B, C, D experiencing a force? Absolutely. Between A and D, no. Between B and C, no. Doesn't need to experience a force though, because the force between A and B and C and D will cause it to turn anyway. So we're quite okay with that, all right? Okay. Then, the graphs. We love these. The graphs of the current and potential difference outputs of an AC generator are shown below. AC, now that was a DC generator, but now we change it to an AC. I can also recognize that it's AC because it goes below the graph, okay? Peak 21, peak 311. That's maximum. So our max is 21 amps, and Vmax is 311 volts. It doesn't matter about the negative. Remember, it's just because it can change direction in grade 12s. Okay, so the negative isn't that important, so don't stress about it right now. Look what they ask you. Calculate average power. It's worth 6 marks. That means it can't be one equation. Okay? First thing you need to remember is that average power is VRMS times IRMS, not R. Okay? VRMS times IRMS. Lots of ways around this. There are options to use I squared over R, I squared times R. You can also use V squared over R, but then you have to calculate R. You can get yourself into a lot of trouble trying to work out R. But I can work out VRMS and IRMS very simply because I know that IRMS is my maximum current divided by square root 2, which means it's 21 divided by square root 2. So if we go here, oh, no, that wasn't the one I wanted. That's the one I want. So I'm going to go, oh, go away. Sorry, I'm not. Okay, I'm going to open another calculator because I can. Hate these things? No? No? Okay, you know what? You guys are just going to have to believe me. Sorry. Okay, because right now these things don't like me. So IRMS is 14,85 amps. Sorry, guys. Okay? 14,85 amps. Smaller than max, which is great. This is the current we would need a DC motor to supply for us, okay, or DC current. VRMS is maximum divided by square root 2, which is 311 divided by square root 2, and that gives me 219,91, which is about 220 volts. This is pretty much the voltage we get in our homes, 220, 240. Okay, so it's around about 311. Still haven't answered the question, though. The question was, what is the average power? So average power, which is VRMS times IRMS. So we're going to go 219,91, not 81. 219,91, 14,85, and we get 3,265,66 watts. Now, what's important here, grade 12s, is depending on your rounding off and depending on your method, you might get a slightly different answer at the bottom. That's okay. All right? Don't stress about that. What you need to remember here, though, when you work out these two values, you must round off to 2 decimal places. You must then use the rounded value in your question. Okay? Please don't keep those values in your calculator and then use all the little numbers. Or try and write all the numbers down. We're not interested. Round off to 2 decimal places and keep everything rounded off to 2 decimal places, okay? That's really important. It's the biggest mistake I see all the time. If you don't, even though your method is correct, please remember it's easy for your marker to then go, well, you got the wrong answer, okay? Because we make mistakes. We're human, okay? And you've already seen that today, that I'm very human. Okay, now, the last question we had was photoelectric effect, and I don't think I'm actually going to get there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to actually answer it. Okay, I'm not going to do all the answers, but photoelectric effect is part of this section. Okay, first they give us, and hopefully you've downloaded the notes so I don't have to read everything to you, I hope. Okay, they tell you, they wanted you to name the phenomenon illustrated above, photoelectric effect. Metal surface illuminated with ultraviolet light, wavelength 330 nanometers, electrons emitted. The minimum amount of energy required to emit an electron from the surface is 3,5 times 10 to the minus 19. Work function, okay. Name the phenomenon, photoelectric effect, easy. Give one word or term for the underlying sentence. We've already done that. It's the work function. Calculate the frequency. Guys, this really is as simple as it looks. Look here. Wavelength, it's light, okay? C equals F lambda. C is 3 times 10 to the 8. Your wavelength was 300 nanometers. So it's 300 times 10 to the minus 9. Okay, so your frequency is 9,09 times 10 to the 14 hertz. It really is as simple as it looks. Don't overthink it, okay? Then they say to you, last question for this one, is calculate the kinetic energy. Now, I really am not going to have enough time to actually do this with you, but remember, the energy of the photon that hits the metal surface is going to be same as the work function plus the kinetic energy given to the object. Energy of a photon, HF, work function was given to you, you wanted K. You've worked out F, you did that in the previous question. Work function was given to you, you just need to solve for K. All right? Very, 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 very simple. In other words, the ultraviolet light, the 300 nanometers, is bigger than the minimum energy. Okay? The frequency of that light is greater than your work function. If it's not greater than your work function, if it's equal to the work function, then your kinetic energy will be 0. If it's less than the work function, then nothing's going to happen. Okay? Best thing you can do with electricity and magnetism, because I'm about to run out of time. Practice, 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 practice. You've seen very few of these questions have a lot of theory involved in them. They're all calculations based. Make sure you practice them. Okay? And that's actually the best advice. And I know I'm finishing a little early, but...
And there were some mindsetters who were saying,
Yeah.
you know what, electricity is the worst topic for me.
I
I
know.
don't enjoy it at all. And you were saying, I love it so
I
much.
love it. I think it's very badly taught, unfortunately. It's one of those sections, but that's also a practice thing. The more you practice with electricity, the more you practice with circuits, the more you realize they're all actually the same. They have the same basic things. They can ask you the same basic questions every single time. And it is practice, and sometimes it gets glanced over. I'm very unusual in that I love it so much. My kids just roll their eyes at me. But I do. I really enjoy it, but it comes easy to me. So I think that's why I enjoy it. But I know it's a difficult section. But grade 12s, you are guaranteed a circuit. Guaranteed. Without a doubt, it's going to be there. So best to learn how to do it. Yeah.
Well, you saw na vakaina in tiso ikuri Tracy uilovelisela and dilo.
Okay.
So you're making things simple.
There we go. Thank you. I was like, okay. I heard my name. I heard my name in there, so I'm assuming it was a good thing.
Otherwise, just want to say for today, that's where we ended. But after this show, do make sure that you catch another show which will be on geography, climate change. So spring school still continues. Kodwa ke mna ndithi kunike inzolo kuni nonke. Peace.